security. So the shutting down or dismantling the Dongchangni, the missile test site, could have a significant meaning to North Korea-U.S. negotiations because it contributes to make United States come back and stay in the negotiations in order to reduce the security threat coming from the North Korean missiles. So it's important.
We don't have much information other than satellite imagery at the moment, and it's hard to tell what North Korea's intentions are. What do you think?
Well, as you mentioned, it's not clear yet what intention North Korea has about the matter. And personally, I think there are two possibilities. First, I think the North Korea is probably preparing for an event, the destroying or dismantling the Dongchangni site. As you know, when Chairman Kim met President Moon in Pyongyang last fall, September, he promised that he would dismantle or destroy the Dongchangni site. So, you know, the Pyongyang or the North Korea possibly is preparing for the event starting from before the second summit in Hanoi, and it just continues to that kind of preparation for the event. But on the other hand, you know, North Korea is probably trying to have a better bargaining chip against the United States. As you know, Chairman Kim did not gather enough outcomes from the second summit in Hanoi, like the partial sanctions relief. So by rebuilding the missile test site, North Korea is probably sending a signal to United States that North Korean missiles still threat the U.S. national security. So the push United States to come back to the negotiations and accept what North Korea wants.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump says he would be very disappointed in the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, if the reports are confirmed to be true. Now, he added that it's too early to judge if it in fact is true. What do you make of the president's remarks?
Yeah, first, I want to also point out that it's too early to make a judgment about that. And I think that President Trump is pushing North Korea, or is sending a warning signal to North Korea, like not doing serious activities. Like the President Trump, as you know, President Trump repeatedly mentioned that there has been no nuclear and missile tests since North Korea-U.S. negotiations resumed under the Trump administration. He praised or showed off that kind of thing as a big performance or the achievement in the Trump administration. So it means that no nuclear and missile test is like a threshold or a baseline to decide whether or not President Trump would remain in the negotiations. It's a very important threshold, I think. So rebuilding the missile test site could negatively impact about how President Trump perceives the Chairman Kim's intention. So the President Trump is sending a very strong warning signal to North Korea that North Korea should not do the serious negative activities that could push the United States to walk away from the negotiations.
So President Donald Trump did say that he will keep close tabs and get it sorted. Now, the fact that these findings come after the breakdown of the North Korea-U.S. summit has raised eyebrows over whether North Korea is trying to show its provocative side, like you just mentioned. How much of an impact do you think these can have on the future negotiations between Pyongyang and Washington?
Well, I think that I don't think that they would break down the negotiations or they walk away from the negotiations, because even after the second summit where the North Korea and the U.S. failed to reach an agreement, they still show very careful responses and reactions to that. It means that they do not want to break down the negotiations, and they want to make progress when the situation is ready. At this time, the two countries have like a coming down the period after the very fast the progress the negotiations. So even if rebuilding the missile test site is like the provocative or aggressive activities, still, North Korea doesn't want to walk away from the negotiations. Still, North Korea want to continue to have the negotiations with the United States, but the North Korea is pushing the United States to take what North Korea wants.
So despite the breakdown of the Hanoi summit, North Korean leader promised, according to U.S. President Donald Trump, that there would be no missile or nuclear testing. So you think we can keep his word on this despite these activities? Yeah, absolutely, I think so. And again, this is a very important line about the keeping the negotiations ongoing. President Trump again and again repeated that kind of thing, and it's acting like the threshold, the baseline, the maintaining the negotiations. It's very important. So the North Korea should listen to what President Trump mentions about that and keep that line if it wants the negotiation going on or ongoing. Now, in the meantime, U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton says if North Korea does not abandon its nuclear weapons, Washington will have to step up sanctions on the regime. And the U.S. Senate has also recently introduced a bill regarding a secondary boycott to overseas financial institute or businesses that do contracts with North Korea. Now, following the breakdown of the Hanoi summit, Trump said that sanctions in place will remain as it is now, the status quo, but some have raised concerns because of John Bolton making such remarks. Do you think, in fact, the U.S. may be turning a tougher stance on North Korea?
Well, I think that the two countries are doing the same things. Like the North Korea rebuilding the missile test site. The United States is also pushing North Korea to take what U.S. wants in terms of the good cop, bad cop approaches. So the President Trump and State Secretary Pompeo are like good cops to appease North Korea, and the advisor Bolton is taking a bad cop role to push North Korea for the denuclearization. So it's like the repeating the strategy that the Trump administration has shown, and it also shows that from U.S. point of view, North Korea's further denuclearization measures should be the key to the key to break the current impasse.
If North Korea does make a reaction to this, what do you think it will be?
Well, it's very important. But currently, I think that North Korea is reviewing and evaluating the process and the overall outcomes of the Hanoi summit. And then North Korea would decide what alternatives and plans to take before coming back to the negotiations. So I think that it would take some time before North Korea comes back to the negotiations, and that decision would significantly affect the future of the negotiations. But again, so I think that in order to bring the two countries back to the negotiation table as soon as possible, South Korea is expected to take a more active role.
Now, North Korea aired a documentary film about its leader at the Kim-Trump summit, possibly in an indication to show its willingness that it wants to keep this dialogue momentum going. Now, there's been no criticism of Washington in North Korean media, and reports say the two sides will be continuing the productive talks. Do you think it will be this way for some time then?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about these aspects, like the current North Korean regime does not want to show its people that the Chairman Kim failed to reach an agreement in Hanoi. To North Korean people, Chairman Kim is a supreme leader, and the supreme leader is always victorious and successful. So the state media just reported the positive aspects of the negotiations, that Chairman Kim maintains good relationships with President Trump, and they will continue to have positive dialogues. So in the meantime, it also shows that North Korea doesn't want to walk away from the negotiations, and they want to make a progress when the situation is ready in the future.
So you said now South Korea has a much more important role to mediate these talks. Now, The top nuclear envoy of Seoul is in Washington to meet with his U.S. counterpart Stephen Biegun, and the two sides exchanged views on the matter and discussed ways to go forward. Now, there have been questions on whether there was enough coordination between the allies before the Hanoi summit, and there's concerns that they have differing views on the sequencing between denuclearization steps and corresponding measures. What kind of details do you think they discussed?
Well, it's kind of first step to resume the North Korea and the U.S. negotiations, it's like another first step to march toward the third summit between North Korea and U.S. summit. I think that the Lee Do-hun, the South Korean envoy, and Mr. Biegun, the special representative for U.S. representative for the North Korea, I think that they may exchange their opinions about the second summit. So first, the Lee Do-hun flew to Washington to listen to how the United States evaluated the other summit, and also listen to what actually happened in Hanoi from Mr. Biegun face to face. Just the telephone calls and the exchanging letters or the reports could be different from the face-to-face talks. So the Lee Do-hun wanted to have the face-to-face talk with Mr. Biegun to listen to what really happened in Hanoi. And then Lee Do-hun also wanted to listen to how the U.S. evaluated the second summit and what U.S. wants from North Korea to resume their talks. And then I think the Lee Do-hun also expressed how the South Korea assess the second summit and what roles the South Korea could play to resume their talks. So it's a very important the political move to facilitate the North Korea-U.S. negotiations. First move, very important.
So we've heard the U.S. side of the story now as Lee Do-hun was in Washington. Now we've also got to hear North Korea's side of the story as well. What feasible move would President Moon have to make at this point?
Well, possibly, I expect that there could be another one-point meeting between the South Korean and the North Korean leaders, inter-Korean summit, like the one-point the summit that taken place in the Panmunjom last year. It's not like the official visit or something like that, but the two get resolved the current impasse. I think that first the South Korea and the North Korean intellectual, let's say the intels or the CIA or the Korean CIA and its counterpart on the north side, they contact each other and listen to what the North Korea wants from the United States. And then they will make some kind of the compromise or the schedules that could bring the South Korean and the North Korean leader again, and they would have the kind of the summit, and they talk about the future movement or the future the move. And then the South Korean President Moon Jae-in, he will contact the President Trump and just deliver what North Korea wants from the United States. So that kind of the very important facilitating role. So in the first the movement or in the near future, I expect that there would be the very serious the communications contact between the two Koreas.
So there could be a lot of more summits to come in the near future. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
And that's where we wrap things up today. Join us again tomorrow at the same time. But in the meantime, stay tuned to Arirang News for all the latest updates. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
I'm currently living a time as an actress.